Right now, though, we turn to your top story on this Monday morning as attacker Morgan Geyser is captured. She is the girl who stabbed her friend Peyton Leutner 19 times back in 2014 in order to please the fictional character Slender Man.
I came up from behind her. I jumped on her. I tackled her. And I stabbed her.
Do you know how many times you did it?
19.
According to police, Geyser cut off her ankle monitor and escaped her group home where she's been staying. This all happened on Saturday night. She was seen with an adult acquaintance, we know. Police releasing this surveillance image of her. Madison police say Geyser was taken into custody last night in Posen, Illinois, which is about 25 minutes just south of Chicago. The 22-year-old was found at a truck stop with another person. Authorities say that the pair took a bus to get to Posen. Back in March, a judge ordered that Geyser be released from a mental hospital and sent to a group home after 3 psychologists testified that she was prepared for supervised release. So, should the judge have known better that this would happen? Let's bring in our power panel now. We've got high-profile attorneys Tommy Pope and Mario Gallucci and nationally known family and relationship expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Great to see you all this morning. All right, Mario Gallucci, start us off, please.
So in a case like this, you know, when she was sentenced on a not guilty by reason of insanity, it doesn't mean she goes to prison. It means that she goes to a mental institution, and she will continuously get treatment. And at some point, there's a diagnosis or a prognosis, and the judge in this case was advised that she's no longer a threat, and maybe her supervision could be relaxed a little bit. And that's why she was released to a group home instead of staying in the mental institution she was in. So the judge in this case was guided by doctors. Doctors would make an analysis. Doctors would give updates routinely to the judge. And at this point, the judge believed that she could be released to a home and just be, you know, supervised in a group home. Obviously, it was not the right decision since she has fled and has now been captured, but the judge goes based upon what a doctor recommends. The judge is a judge, he's a lawyer, not a doctor.
Mario, great point. The judge relied on the opinions of those psychologists. I have a feeling our psychologist on the panel would have told the judge differently if she was called in. Dr. Sue, what do you say?
Oh, boy. Well, I think Morgan Geyser pulled the wool over these psychologists. And, you know, Julie, you and I talked about this a month ago, that this was not a good move, and titrating her down to a group facility wasn't the best move. Listen, everybody, this is a kid that stabbed someone 19 times. Not one time, not 2 times, 19 times. And by the way, did they ignore that behind closed bars she was having violent communication with a man who I think was the guy at the bus stop, by the way? So, you know, I think she's a manipulative sociopath and fooled everyone. And by the way, Julie, how do you cut off a monitor off of your leg? That's news to me. I don't know how you do that. Do you?
Criminals do that. We see it happen. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're not foolproof. Tommy Pope, with that question in mind, the other person, I like Dr. Sue's theory there, that was this person at the bus stop the one communicating with her? We don't know. But Tommy, a 2-part question for you. Part 1, just want your general reaction to this and whether the court erred. And then 2, if this woman had assistance in her little breakout, are we thinking charges are coming for the assister?
I think, number one, I don't lay it at the judge's lap, but they don't have a crystal ball. I remember when I was first a prosecutor, we had a sexual assault case. The victim didn't want to go through, and so we had to have a lesser plea. Years later, that guy became a serial killer in North Carolina. Obviously, we would have never I don't know what we would have done without a victim, but we would have never, not prosecuted or prosecuted on a lesser extent. So that's number one. Number two, I really kind of lay it at her lap. Back when I ran the Bloodhounds at State Law Enforcement Division, the juveniles, they went through a series where they didn't have a fence. And so they really had and they wouldn't punish them if they ran. So every Saturday, the juveniles would run, get down on the river, we'd be called out to try to catch them. But if they got away, they would go to the mall for the day and then get caught and go back, and there was no punishment. I think for her, she's not thinking past now. And I think the odds are it is, as everyone has said, the person she's probably been communicating with, and they thought they'd have an adventure and don't really think past, what the repercussions would be. And so going to the charge question, I would think absolutely if you're facilitating, again, it's like Mario said, now you're not necessarily in jail, so there may be a different set of rules, as far as escape and things of that nature. But the fact that she's under monitoring and escape monitoring, I think they would treat that the same way. And I think you could see some charges for this person forthcoming.
Tommy, thank you so much for that really helpful insight. And then with Morgan Geyser, let's talk about what needs to happen to her. So, Mario, let me go back to you on this question. Tell me what ideally... Well, this is a tricky question because you're a defense attorney through and through, Mario. Let me give you a two-parter, okay? Tell me what you think her defense attorney is going to try to do with her, and then tell me what you think the state's going to try to do with her.
So she violated a condition of her release by escaping the group home and by cutting off the monitor. So she's committed two new crimes. One is a violation of a condition, and one is the breaking of the monitor. So first, she's going to have to waive extradition to go from Illinois to Wisconsin. If she doesn't do that, then Wisconsin will get a governor's warrant, which is pretty routine, and then she'll be eventually brought to Wisconsin. Once in Wisconsin, she's going to have a hearing on the violation of the condition by leaving the group home and by breaking the bracelet. And I'm assuming that, as a defense attorney, I would say that she suffers from this mental illness or defect. She's still, not guilty by reason of insanity. And I would argue that, maybe she needs to have some more restrictions or supervision. I would probably argue that she doesn't have to be placed back in a mental institution, but I would say that more than likely that's a losing argument, and she will be placed back in a mental institution where she will be supervised again by doctors who will give routine updates to the judge on her condition.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mario. Dr. Sue, there was a lot of concern from the community about her release. I mean, many people spoke out, were just horrified at the thought of Morgan Geyser being back into the community, albeit integrated slowly by way of that group home. How dangerous do you think this young woman is?
I mean, I don't know how dangerous she is, but I would think that she had planned and plotted this while she was getting out back into society. I worried when I heard this that there was a possibility that she was going to go seek out the young lady that she stabbed. And there's always a possibility, Julie, when you've committed a crime like this before, that there's a possibility that you could commit it again. So the fact that she was in that group home and I believe planned to leave, there's a very big chance that she could be violent again. And this is why I believe that she should be put back in a mental institution where she is locked down there for further evaluation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Dr. Sue. Tommy Pope, tell me, if you're the prosecutor on this one, what do you think is the most compelling argument to get Morgan Geyser back in that mental institution?
It's almost like arguing a bond here in my mind, Julie. It's a danger to the community and a risk of flight. She's obviously evidenced the second one. And so I think the difficulty here always that it's when there's mental illness, if there is true mental illness there, the folks that are treating her are always working to get her out. where sometimes, with prison, their job's to keep them. And so the mental health institution, I think, I agree with Mario. I think she goes back to a more secure environment, but they're always going to be working to move her out. That's just the nature of the mental health system. When they get treated to a certain level, they want to move them out, both because of the strain on their resources and the nature of what their calling is, what they're set out to do. So I think the prosecution is going to move toward a danger to the community, risk of flight, put her in a more controlled environment. And then this may be subject to repetition, maybe not the escape, but the group home and the whole process. We may see this again years from now.
Yes, Tommy, thank you so much for that very important distinction between the function of the prison system versus the hospital. Very different functions, as you pointed out. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there for now.